Good afternoon. I'll call to order the Board of Directors regular meeting agenda for Monday, April 15th, 2024. May I have a roll call, please?
Director Meyerhoffen.
Here.
Director Duff.
Present.
Director Martin.
Here.
Vice President Griffith.
Present.
President Sewell.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
All right, seeing that all directors are present, we can skip item 3 and item 4, Pledge of Allegiance. Russ, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Place your hand over your heart and face our nation's flag. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on. We have, let's see. We still have on the agenda closed session, but that was Thursday.
That's correct. We don't have one today.
Perfect. We're skipping item 5 and 6 for today, and that's regular session. Also skipping item 7. Item 8, rules of procedure, Counselor.
Yes, according to the rules of procedure adopted by the Board of Directors, all noticed meetings are conducted using Rosenberg's Rules of Order as a procedural guideline. Directors should refrain from responding directly to public comments at meetings of the board. The president of the board presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on the subject shall have been given an opportunity to speak. No board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting. And finally, the board president regulates the amount of time to be dedicated to a particular agenda item.
Thank you. Item 9, public input. This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within the board's jurisdiction. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. State law prohibits the board from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak?
Not for general public input.
And we do have one here in the boardroom. Jeff, would you like to approach the podium? And this is Director Bowman, Desert Water Agency, Vice President Bowman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm coming to you this afternoon, not as the Vice President of EWA Board, but as President of the Cabot's Museum Board. I want to thank MSWD for their proactive partnership with the city in all the years that I've been in town, which is 20 years, and for the upcoming Earth Day that is going to be this Saturday, as you all know. I want to thank Marion for all her efforts getting the word out, and I look forward to seeing this 3D model that the kids have put together about our aquifer that we so value here in town. So on behalf of Cabot's Board, we thank you for all your help putting this together, and we look forward to a great morning over at Cabot's Public Museum. By the way, the PR on this has been outstanding. I don't know if you've seen it. It's been all over Instagram, Facebook, and hopefully even some of the, I don't know if you've got over to the Desert Sun or if they paid any attention to it or anything like that, but nonetheless, I am proud of MSWD, I'm proud of Cabot's, I'm proud of our town, and I look forward to Earth Day.
Thank you, Jeff. And seeing no further public comment, we'll move on to employee recognition. Item 10, Human Resources Report. Assistant General Manager.
Yes, I'm going to stand in for General Manager Macy for this report today. Thank you, President Sewell. This month, we have 3 employees who are celebrating anniversaries, representing more than 24 years of service to our customers. This includes Field Operations Technician 2, Julio Martinez, who's officially celebrating 1 year with the district. However, he has worked with us previously, and cumulatively, he has more than 4 years with the district. Water Production Operator 1, Adam Wagner, is celebrating 2 years with the district, and Customer Service Representative 2, Lisa Pelton, is celebrating 21 years. On behalf of the staff and management team, I'd like to thank each one of them for their service. Next, we have two employees who were promoted this past month. The first is myself, which you are all familiar with, but the second is Amanda Lucas, who's been promoted to the contract analyst position. Amanda has been with the district for over 7 years, supporting our operations department. She holds a bachelor's degree in human resources management and a master's degree in science and organizational leadership with a specialization in project management from Colorado State University. In the few short weeks I've worked with Amanda, I've witnessed how meticulous and organized she is in her work. Already familiar with our procurement processes, she's collaborating with our finance and our IT departments to safeguard and streamline our contracting processes. Amanda's here in the boardroom with us today, and she'd like to say a few words.
Good afternoon, President Sewell and members of the board. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude. I am excited and incredibly grateful for this new chapter. Danny, thank you for mentoring me for 7+ years here in the district and helping me become the best I can be to assist the operations department. Your leadership, guidance, and perseverance will never go unnoticed. Ryan, thank you for your unwavering support and leadership. Marion, I look forward to working with you and learning from you. Lastly, I look forward to continuing to make a positive impact in my new role in the district. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
And that does conclude our HR report for today. The management team and I genuinely appreciate all of our employees for the dedication and commitment to our customers.
And I do see one more name on there, but and that's our very own Marion Champion, who was promoted to our assistant general manager. So congratulations to you as well. And to everyone here, their anniversaries, and Amanda, your promotion. I think we really have a great team here. Any other comments from the board? Thank you. Moving on to action items, item 11, public hearing, resolution 2024-08, finding and determining that the public interest, convenience, and necessity require the acquisition of certain property for public purposes. It is recommended that the board conduct the public hearing and adopt resolution 2024-08, finding and determining that the public interest, convenience, and necessity require the acquisition of certain property for public purposes. This is the time and place fixed to solicit public input with respect to Mission Springs Water District's acquisition of certain property for public purposes. The public hearing will be declared open and staff will give the reports. I will then call for comments from the public. During this time, there will be no back and forth conversation between the public and the board and staff. All questions will be noted and addressed after all public comments have been received. The public hearing will then be closed and the board may have a discussion if necessary. I declare this public hearing open. Secretary's report, please.
Notice of public hearing was published to the Desert Sun on March 27th, 2024. There have been no comments or protests on this item.
Thank you. And do we have a staff report? Is that council?
Yes. As the board is aware, the district is constructing a sewer main running north-south within the Little Morongo Road right away, and I'll refer to that during the staff report as the project. A concerted effort was made to minimize the need to acquire private property for the project. However, in order to accommodate the sewer main construction, which is needed in connection with the regional wastewater treatment plant, real property interests, permanent easements, and temporary easements in the property described in the resolution that you're going to be voting on today, which is resolution 2024-08, are required. The property identified in the resolution is currently vacant industrial zoned land, and it is owned by Southern California Edison. Staff has attempted to negotiate a purchase of the property from Southern California Edison, but the negotiations have not yet resulted in a settlement. Pursuant to California Government Code Section 6500 et sec and other statutes that are cited in the resolution, the district is authorized to acquire property interests in the property by eminent domain, provided that certain procedural steps are followed. First, the district must make a written offer to the property owner based upon an appraisal. An offer was made to the property owner as required by law in writing. The offer was based upon an appraisal that was conducted. To date, the offer has not been accepted. It's now necessary that an action in eminent domain be commenced to acquire the property. Prior to the action, or prior to filing the action, the district must hold a hearing, which we're doing today, on the proposed resolution of necessity and provide the owner of the property an opportunity to be heard at today's hearing. And I understand, or at least we believe, that a representative of Southern California Edison will be speaking today. And we did receive a letter from Southern California Edison's representatives that is part of the record today, stating their objections. After we conduct the public hearing, if the board finds that public necessity so requires, the board should adopt the proposed resolution of necessity contained in Resolution 2024-08, authorizing condemnation proceedings for the purpose of acquiring the property interests which are described in the resolution. The findings which need to be made are set forth in the resolution of necessity, and specifically, Mission Springs the board must find that the public interest, convenience, and necessity require the project. Secondly, that the project is planned or located in the manner that would be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. The property is being acquired to improve the safety and efficiency of the sewer facilities within the district by constructing a sewer main, as I mentioned, needed for the regional plant. Thirdly, that the property interests should be acquired the property interests sought to be acquired are necessary for the project. In this case, the sewer main construction project provides for a new sewer main running north-south within the defined Little Morongo right-of-way. Temporary construction easement areas will also be required to enable construction of the project. Without permanent and temporary easements in the property, the proposed project cannot be completed. And again, this project is necessary for completion of the regional plan. Questions related to value of the property that's being acquired are not relevant for today's meeting. However, that does not mean that negotiations for acquisition of the property are at an end. If the board does adopt the resolution of necessity, negotiations for acquisition of the property by agreement will continue. And that's my report.
Thank you. And do we have anyone present that's wishing to speak on this item?
Yes, President Sewell, we do. Drew Jones, do you still care to make public comment?
Yes, hi. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the members of the board. My name is Drew Jones, and I represent Southern California Edison as outside counsel. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I will be brief. I want to incorporate what was stated in the letter that's already part of the record by the letter by Mr. Rothenberg. And if I can reiterate a little bit on some of the points made in that letter. One of the issues that Edison has is that Edison would prefer to use its own plats and legals. And Edison is in the process of reviewing the plats and legals that are part of the resolution necessity package, but hasn't completed that review. And to the extent that there would be changes necessary and that those would not be included, our concern would be that that would mean that the project is not being designed in the manner that promotes the least private injury. And in addition, I know it's been said that the compensation is not part of this, but we want to make sure that because there was a 33 kV line that needed to be redesigned as part of this, that the compensation include all of Edison's costs related to the project impact to the property. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. And any other further public comments on the item?
No, President Sewell.
All right, seeing no further speakers, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. Oops. Board discussion, Director Martin?
I have a question. If we pursue and are successful in pursuing eminent domain, would we still compensate the property owner?
Yes, we are required by the Constitution to provide just compensation.
Thank you.
And an appraisal was conducted, determined fair market value that was offered to the owner of the property. There was an offer made consistent with the appraised value. But at the end, what we hope is that we're able to come to an agreement, maybe even addressing some of the issues that were raised today and enter into a mutually agreeable agreement to resolve, if possible.
Director Meyerhoffen? Director Duff?
No comments.
Vice President Griffith?
I have no comments, but I am ready to make a motion when you're ready.
And I have no comments, so have at it.
I move we adopt resolution 2024-08 acquisition cert property for public purposes. I just want to read this, a resolution, the Mission Springs Water District finding and determining that the public interest, convenience, and necessity require the acquisition of certain property for public purposes.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen?
Yes.
Director Duff?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Vice President Griffith?
Aye.
President Sewell?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 12, public hearing, resolution 2024-06 to collect sewer fees on the tax roll. It is recommended that resolution 2024-06 be adopted, electing to collect sewer user fees on the tax roll under California Health and Safety Code 5470. This is the time and place fixed to solicit the public's input in respect to Mission Springs Water District's making determination to collect sewer user fees on the county tax roll for the fiscal year 2024-25. The public hearing will be declared open and staff will give the reports. I will then call for comments from the public. During this time, there will be no back and forth conversation between the public and the board and staff. All questions will be noted and will be addressed after all public comments have been received. The public hearing will then be closed and the board may have a discussion if necessary. I declare this public hearing open. Secretary's report, please.
Notice of public hearing was posted to the Desert Sun on March 29th and April 5th, 2024. As of this afternoon, there have been no comments or protests on this item.
Thank you. And do we have a staff report?
Thank you to President Sewell. This is an annual item that we bring to the board for discussion each year. Our finance director, Arturo Ceja, is available to give you a brief overview.
Thank you, Assistant General Manager Champion. Sorry I couldn't be there today, but I am presenting a brief overview of this item. And President Sewell and members of the board, this is an annual report that we do bring to you. I apologize, I'm having issues with my screen, so I'm going to stop sharing and just go over that report that you have in front of you. In the last several years, as you know, our the type of accounts that we have are roughly 50% tenant, 50% owner occupied. And as we had included sewer charges on customers' accounts, we had approximately 50% delinquent accounts in the last 5 years. After we sent the sewer charges to the property taxes, the delinquency of our accounts went down to about 10%. That makes, when you're talking about consumption and water charges only on the bill, it makes it a lot easier for customers, especially tenants, to be able to pay that bill. And it alleviates to the point of roughly $80,000 to the district that our ratepayers don't have to pay. And so that is the intent of this. In fact, it'll be discussed later on that we also are considering doing the same thing with the fixed charges on the water side to do the same thing with that we're trying to save all these funds. And just think about it. We've had customers that sell their property. There's nothing in that lot, but there is eventually there was sewer and water in that property. The new owner does not tell the district for 5 or 6 months that they are the new owner. There goes 5 months that we have not collected those charges, accumulating late fees. That's not a good thing for the customer and also for the district to not be able to collect those funds. So it in the end, it's a lot of savings for the staff and all the bills that we have to send out, all the research we have to do to find the correct owner, and all of that information. So in essence, that is the main reason why we bring this to the board every year now. And I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Right. Thank you, Arturo. Before we get to questions, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this matter?
No, sir, we do not.
Seeing no further speakers, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Board discussion, Director Duff, any questions or comments?
I just want to reiterate something that Mr. Sehouse said. This process, if we were to not put it on the tax bills, would cost our district over $80,000. So doing this is absolutely following our strategic plan of SMART goals, managing our debt properly. And I'm just very glad to see that we're looking at other ways of using this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Griffith?
I just want to add in that you can actually opt out by paying in advance for the entire amount. And that will save you about 50 some dollars per month on your tax bill. So, and if you're paying a mortgage, it lowers your escrow. So just so you know, it's if you don't pay, then they'll put this on the taxes. But if you want to, you can pay in advance. We send a letter out, which we all get every year, and then you just come in and pay it and you're good to go.
Thank you. Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen?
I'm opposed to putting anything on the taxes. We have too many low-income people in this community that it's easier for them to pay on a monthly basis than to wait to get that one big hit with all of the bills and things. And we can't collect that money. That just have to do it a little bit different and charge a little more to the property owner to collect it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing further. Do we have a motion on the item?
I'd like to make a motion on resolution 2024-06 to collect sewer fees on the tax roll.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
No,
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith.
Aye.
President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Right. And before we get going, thank you to Councilwoman Pai for joining us. I just wanted to double check. Did you have any public comment for us today? Thank you for your attendance. Item 13, receive and file the Mission Creek Subbasin Annual Report for water year 2022-23. It is recommended to receive and file the Mission Creek Subbasin Annual Report for water year 2022-23, prepared for the Coachella Valley Water District, Desert Water Agency, and Mission Springs Water District by WSP USA Environmental and Infrastructure Incorporated. Assistant Manager.
Thank you, President Sewell. We should have Rick Reese from WSP USA Environmental and Infrastructure to provide you with an update. Dory, can you check if Rick is on the Zoom?
He is on the Zoom. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi,
Good
Rick.
afternoon.
Yes.
President Sewell and members of the board. Yes, I'm willing to present. I'm not sure how to do it in this format. I sent my presentation to Brian. I don't know if he can load it or if I can load it.
You do have the ability to share your screen.
Okay, I will share my screen. I see it now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, are you able to see my screen?
No, we cannot.
Share.
Now we can.
Okay, thank you.
You see it now.
I'll go to presentation mode.
We actually can see your notes screen.
Okay.
Perfect.
How's that?
Yes.
Okay. So this presentation on the Sustainable Management Act, the annual report for Mission Creek Subbasin. My name again is Rick Rees. I'm principal hydrogeologist with WSP. So I'll give you the summary of progress and the findings first. For the water year 2023, groundwater production was approximately 23% less than historical highs in the mid-2000s. And the ongoing basin monitoring program result demonstrates that the long-term overdraft, the average overdraft over a 20-year period or more in the Mission Creek has been eliminated. All but one key well showed groundwater levels higher than measurable objectives in the 2022-2023. That is, they maintain water levels at above the 2009 levels. That's the measurable objective. And one well that fell below the measurable objective had a provisional baseline that was always subject to change based on new information. There were no other indicators of sustainable management criteria that were exceeded. Subsidence, water quality, and storage are the other criteria. Start with the water balance. The numbers here speak for themselves, but again, we have the components of it are natural inflows, mountain front recharge, for example, return flows from use of about 4,500 acre feet, and then artificial recharge from the state water project that goes into the Mission Creek groundwater replenishment facility for this year was about 5,300 acre feet. The outflows were about 13,500 acre feet of groundwater pumping, and then there's about 3,400 acre feet of natural outflows. The change in storage in the basin is then calculated based on the difference between the inflows and the outflows, and was about minus 341 acre feet for this year. And the graphic shows the breakdown. This gives a little more detail in the history. So each one of these plots kind of shows all of those components together. Here's the current one for 2022/23 in water year 2023. And it also shows the cumulative change in storage as the purple line. And one thing I want to make clear here is that when we're doing the water balance, prior to 2000 and in this graph, let me see here. Okay, so this is based on groundwater modeling up and through when the last alternative update was put. So you'll see here that there's a lot of variability in the mountain front recharge in this early time period up into 2020. And that's because it's groundwater model based. And then after that, so we don't have to do a groundwater model every year. And so you'll see there's artificial recharge, the light blue. The dark blue is the mountain front recharge, which is basically based on rainfall. And then for the period after we did the alternative updates, update the model every year, we use this average for things like mountain front recharge, so that this groundwater balance is relatively insensitive to things like rainfall, but that'll be corrected in the next alternative update. But it makes it so much easier to do the water balance year to year. That adds a little confusion to some people. It's written in the report, and basically it's done on a 25-year average, makes it simpler to calculate things, makes it simpler to put out the report, and much less expensive every year. So zooming into what's going on with the change in storage, which is what we really care about, because over time we had a big drop in the change in storage every year until they started doing recharge in the basin. This graph shows a 20-year average and a 10-year average, and the concept here is that you don't necessarily want to maintain groundwater storage always positive all the time, because you want to be able to fluctuate based on the needs. Some years there's a lot of state water project, other years there's not. So the bottom line here is that there's a change in groundwater storage every year, represented by these histograms here, these plots of the gray. Some years they're up, some years they're down, but we're trying to maintain this average long-term storage, which is the 20 years shown by the green line. Okay, for details, here's the key wells for sustainability indicator monitoring. That's what is used to evaluate sustainability. And for the Mission Springs Water District wells, they're shown here in the light blue. You can pick them out, well, 22, 29, 31, and then 33 is in the Garnet Hills sub area. And I'll give you a change in water levels for a 1 year period. And you'll see that most of it has been a decrease of yellow, and also this the main part of the Mission Creek subbasin has been a decrease between 0 and 5 feet. In the southern part, there's been a slight increase. And up in this area where the recharge basin is, it shows a lot greater decrease. And the reason for that is that there hasn't been groundwater recharge in the recharge facility up in this area, which is located right here. And so when there's recharge, it artificially rises, and that's what happened last year. There was more recharge, and so we were seeing a decrease from that period. And I'll show you, these are averages. So you'll see, and let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. For this one particular up here near the recharge facility, you'll see that water levels have been declining, and this is it's really fuzzy. Sorry about that. This is the current water year is the green, and then the last water year is the red. So we're looking at the difference between the average between the red and the difference between the average and the green. And you'll see this is a downward trend. However, they started recharging at the end of last year, and it jumped up at the very end. But because the average, it shows it, greater than it actually was for this particular area. All right, but groundwater levels since 2009, which is what the sustainability is based on, it's a different story. And the reason for that is because our baseline goes back to 2009. So if you look at each of these graphs, each of the red ones show what the water level was in 2009. And I'm going to go zoom in on these, and you can go in detail if you want. But you'll see 2009 is all the red ones. And if you compare that with the green ones, there has been an overall increase in water levels since the 2009, and that is the blue area. That's all increase. And where it's a decrease is up here near the recharge. And that's because, again, like I said before, there's this artificial mounding because of this recharge early on in the 2000s. And so it was elevated at that time. That's an artifact. And that's why it shows a decrease in this area, but an increase in this area between 10 and 15 or even 10 and 20 feet. And that's a good thing. That's where we want to be. We want to be in this positive zone. And this is all positive throughout the basin. And then we can compare individual wells against their measurable objectives and minimum thresholds. Those are sustainability criteria under Sigma. And if you can see in this graph, I've got to zoom in on this graph if you guys want more detail, but you can see where 2009 is, because again, that's the baseline. So the water levels are near that level in 2009, wherever you're at. And you'll see that water levels increase the basin where they did the recharge, and there's a lag time. So up here in the recharge facility, there's a big bump, but you don't see that until, and all these are on the same scale, until much later, further down in the subbasin. In fact, down here in the far south, at this well down in here, if you step over, you don't see that bump until about 2007 start to build. And here's, if you go into the details, I'll just show you a couple of these. I've got all of them. If there's anyone you want to go into detail, this was well 22. Well 22 is located in this part of the subbasin. Here's the recharge facility up in here. Here's well 33 for comparison. And you'll see the graph here shows the recharge is the gray. So when they're recharging, it goes in the gray. And you'll see it doesn't really happen right away at this particular location. It takes a little bit of time, but you see the water levels start to increase. And the 2009, as I said, that's when the base level is set for the measurable objective. And the minimum threshold is based on a variability of water levels, and just is kind of a factor of safety. Let me go through and show well 30, which is located closest to the recharge facility. And you'll see that when they did the recharge at this well, it jumped up much faster and greater. when they did the recharge in this area here. Again, the measurable objective is measurable objective is set at 2009. All right, I'm not going to go through all of these. I showed you a couple examples. I can come back to any of these that you want to see. And the other thing that I was going to share with you, let me give people a scroll back real quick. Okay, this shows the measurable objectives and the minimum thresholds. And if you recall, I said that there was one well that is dropped below the measurable objectives, and that is well 4PO1. It's located right in this area. You guys see my screen or my pointer, and here's the hydrograph for that particular well. And you'll see that 2009 is when we set the baseline, which is back in here, part of the graph. We just didn't have the data at the time. So we actually used the model to estimate when that was, or what it would have been in 2009. And I think we just missed it, because if you compare this with a well like say 1104 down in this area, and well 28J01 up in here, the trend is about the same, but I don't think we started in the right place. We just didn't have historical water level to base that on. That's why it was provisional. And that's why it's easy enough to change. And we have a good basis for changing that. And when that's changed, and it would be changed in the next alternative update, then this would no longer be below the measurable objective. There was another question, as I understand the group had, and that was regarding where they plan to put additional well to close the data gaps for the salt nutrient management plan. And I'm aware, so this map was from the 2020 work plan, and it shows where the shallow aquifer system data gaps were. And this particular symbol here shows where those are. And I'm aware that they were looking for properties up in this area. Here's the, here's the recharge facility and Highway 62 down through here for scale. So it would be, north and west of the recharge facility and west of Highway 62 is where they're going to put in a well. I'm not sure that this G3 and the GT2 are still on the table. That's outside of my understanding, but I know that they were looking to put a well in at this location. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rick. Do we have any questions from the board?
Yes.
Director Martin?
I had to excuse myself during your presentation for a couple of minutes, so if you've already covered this, I apologize. Have any of these measurements on well levels been taken since Hillary storm and the subsequent rainstorms we've had since Hillary?
Yeah. After I think Hillary was. I have to recall when Hillary, the date of the Hillary was
August 18th.
August 18th. Yeah, so all of those would have been included in this report.
And it didn't appear that that had a significant impact to our water levels. I'm kind of surprised with calling it that storm of wettest year in 1,000 years. I thought that we'd be overflowing with water. So
absolutely, and the reason why that is because the vadose zone, which is the dry portion of the soil above the water table, is fairly thick. So it takes time for it to get down. I think we may see a bump, especially in the south part of the basin, in a year or so, but it will take more time for it to show up in other wells.
So you are anticipating that there would be a bump in the water levels.
And it may not be a bump that you can actually see. It may be more of just an overall rise that occurs slowly over time. It's definitely going to help, but we don't see water levels responding except in the recharge facility where they're putting in a massive amount of water in a small area. We're not really seeing that at any time, even of all the large storms. We just don't see a specific spike.
Director Myhoff?
Yes, The groundwater throughout California, it's gonna take, from what I understand, last time I read something was like 80 years before it'll actually get back up to where it needs to be originally. Do you have any idea how many years we'll get back up to where we're supposed to be at? Depends on the weather, but yeah, it's a hard question.
Well, again, and it also depends on what you consider where you want to be at. Because you might want to manage the basin so you're not necessarily getting back to where you're at. You want to take full advantage of the resources, and the lower the water levels are, the more you get inflow from the mountain front recharge areas, for example. So I can't really answer that because it would depend on how you want to manage the basin. If you really want to bring water levels up, you're absolutely going to have to recharge more. There's just no way around that.
Thank you.
Director Duff?
Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate the education. I was hoping you could discuss a little bit in more detail our 341 acre foot deficit. And can you discuss a little bit as to the 2009 ground zero that you refer to, as to why it was set there and exactly how much room is left in our storage that has gone unused?
Okay, let me start with the 2009 level. That is really when the management committee together decided they were going to not let water levels drop below that. That's what their goal was at that time. They knew that it was dropping very quickly, and they knew they were going to be in trouble if they didn't do anything. So that's when they started to bring in the recharge water and brought water levels back up again. And they said, we don't want to go below that level. So it was purely a decision that they made at that time for the 2009. There's no real specific basis for it, but it does seem to be a defensible level because there's been no impacts from that. In other words, wells didn't go dry, there wasn't subsidence, water quality issues, that kind of thing. That's to the 2009 issue. As far as how much you could use, it's up to you. I mean, you wouldn't want to bring it. I mean, you've got a very thick vadose zone. You could store a lot of water in that Mission Creek subbasin if you wanted to. So you could bring it up hundreds of feet in some areas. And again, it varies. In the north part, northwest, you've got several hundred feet of vadose zone. In the south, you've got, 10 feet, 15, 20 feet. So you could store more water in there if you wanted to. And forgive me if I missed one of your questions.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate it. The only, I guess, I'm just trying to process what you just said with the question I had. Sorry. I guess that's going to be good for now. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to understand with the presentations I heard by CVWD when they were receiving and filing this, they were talking about how several of the other basins here in the valley were full and had taken full advantage of storage. And then ours seems to be going down, and we had such an opportunity, and I'm just trying to grasp why that opportunity wasn't seized.
No, that's a good question. And I don't know the answer to that. How they decide which basin they're going to put water in. That's a decision that I'm not aware of why they make it. But you can see, from the graphs that you need to put water in the basin to keep water levels stable. And because they haven't put a lot of water in this basin recently, we've got a downward trend, but we still are above our plan, which is the measurable objectives.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation again today, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice President?
I have no questions for Mr. Reeves. I do have comments, but I'll save them.
Okay, and I have no questions. Thank you very much for your presentation, Rick.
You're welcome.
I guess,
Thank you.
time for discussion if you have your comments.
Yeah, it's kind of opportune moment. Vice President Bowman is here. So I made this comment last week, and so now that you're here, I'll make it again. So according to what we should have received recharge wise, had we received the full amount, I know we weren't able to because of Tropical Storm Hillary, but I want to impress the importance upon Desert Water Agency of regular deliveries, because had we received our full amount, we would actually not be minus 341 acre feet in this report, since we did not receive 1,724 acre feet. So I just want to put that out there and impress upon you the need for continuous recharge when the water comes, so that we don't have continuous reports that make us look like our sub-basin is not being managed correctly. So just want to put that out there for everybody.
Anything further from the board? And I'll open public comment. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on item 13?
No, President Sewell.
All right, we'll close public comment and we're open for a motion. If anyone would like to make a motion on item 13.
I'll move that we file and receive this.
I'll second that motion.
With a motion and a second, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes,
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes,
Vice President Griffith.
Aye.
President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 14, authorization for purchase of equipment for the Nancy Wright Regional Water Reclamation Facility and augmentation of the capital budget. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to approve the purchase of equipment for the Nancy Wright Regional Water Reclamation Facility for a not to exceed amount of $331,966.22 and augment the capital budget to accommodate this expenditure. Assistant Manager.
Thank you, President Sewell. Danny Friend, our Director of Operations, presented on this item on Thursday, and we have no additional updates.
Do we have any questions from the board? Director Martin?
no questions.
Director Meyerhoffen?
no questions.
Director Duff? Vice President? And with that, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on item 14?
No, sir.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion for item 14.
Are you comments or just questions or?
I didn't have no comment for this item.
Okay, I have a comment though.
I just,
I thought you said questions.
either or.
Either. Okay, yeah, getting confused there. Last meeting I was questioning the amount of money, if it was overkill on the equipment and that. So when we was at the Nancy Wright Regional Facility the other day, spoke with Lee, and he explained to me, and of course it was right there, and I could see all the equipment and the height of the doors. And I used to, I drove a forklift before, so I don't know how you, or if you never used any of this equipment, can really understand what's going on with all of it. But after being there, I have to say that it's warranted. We'll actually save some money on a crane. So some of this money will come back to us on the savings there. So I'm all for it. I'm on board. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
With a motion and a second, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes,
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes,
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 15, adopt resolution 2024-07 and reclassify the government and public affairs manager position. It is recommended to adopt resolution 2024-07, amending the employee classification plan for fiscal year 2023-24 with the reclassification of the public affairs manager position. Assistant Manager.
Thank you. General Manager Macy provided background on this change last Thursday, and we have no additional updates.
Any questions or comments from the board? Director Duff? Vice President? Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen?
yes. As I said last week, I'm kind of concerned about this position and where the money's being spent here. And I think this would have been a great time to take a look at it. I guess this has been going on for a year with whoever is going to be transferred into this position. I'm not even sure what's going on here. This position, it was presented that it was a new hire, but now I guess it's somebody that went to school and is going to be hired. So basically, the person who went to school, I commend you for going to school and want to better yourself. My vote, please don't let it reflect what your accomplishment is. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on item 15?
No, sir.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move, we adopt resolution 2024-7, reclassify government and public affairs manager position.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
No,
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Director Griffith, or Vice
Aye.
President Griffith, sorry.
Uh,
And
Either or.
President Sewell.
Aye.
President Sewell,
Yes.
thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 16, award of contract to AECom for assessment district number 18, area D3 sanitary sewer design services. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to negotiate and execute a contract with AECom Technical Services, Inc. for repackaging of the plans and specifications for the AD 18 area D3 sewer construction project for a total amount not to exceed $51,834.
Thank you. Engineering Manager Eric Weck presented on this item on Thursday, and we have no additional updates.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen? Director Duff? Vice President Griffith? And do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on the item?
No, President Sewell.
And with that, do we have a motion for item 16?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Hmm.
We have a motion and a second.
Who seconded that?
I believe Russ, Director
Okay.
Martin.
Thank you.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
yes,
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 17, award of on-call general engineering services contract for amendment number 1 for the preparation of a water supply assessment and water supply verification for the project Viento development. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute a contract amendment with TKE Engineering for the preparation of a water supply assessment and water supply verification for the Viento development project in the amount of $21,040. Assistant Manager?
Thank you. Our engineering manager, Eric Weck, presented on this topic on Thursday, and he does have a small update for you today.
Thank you, Assistant General Manager Champion. Good afternoon, President Sewell and members of the board. In last week's study session, Director Duff asked about the current on-call general engineering contract with TKE Engineering. This was as a result of staff needing to add $20,040 to the current on-call general engineering contract with TKE. Presently, TKE has an on-call contract with the district in the amount of $250,000. TKE is currently working on 16 projects and study services and projects, and the projects are listed right here on this slide. Of this project listing, there are about $374,000 worth of projects that they are helping us out with, and that covers multiple fiscal years. And then there's also some months where if there's activity, they invoice us for that. And likewise, if there isn't any activity or they're in a holding pattern for studies to be reviewed, then they don't invoice.
Eric, can I stop you for one
Yeah.
moment? We can't
Mhm.
see your slide if you were showing us something.
Okay. Well,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry. Let's try this again. Share.
I was taking really fast notes.
I'm sorry. Computers. Can you see this? The
Yes.
PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let me go here. Can you still see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you for letting me know. So to date, there's been $188,000 invoiced, and there's about $61,000 remaining in the budget for March through June of this fiscal year. Okay. Now there's an approximate $35,000 that will be invoiced for March, which means that there's about $30,000 left from April through June. So if you take a look at the bottom here, projects 93 and 95, those two projects are the ones that are pushing the budget of $250,000 over, and it's those two projects there. Also, in the past, an on-call construction management and inspection contract was also done in the past, but TKE doesn't have that contract this fiscal year. So Project 95 Rancho Descanso would have been covered under that previously. Also, Project 94, the M2 waterline project, should be completed this month, which will lower the contract burn rate. Also, Project 95 Rancho Descanso is a CM and inspection item, and that's almost complete as well. And besides minor water valve and manhole rings and water meter boxes that are left to be inspected, that project and the efforts done by TKE on that should also lower the contract burn rate as well. So as it stands, there's about $188,000 that they've billed, and taking into account what I discussed earlier, there's about $30,000 left. The reason why staff presented this as a contract amendment to increase the contract with TKE is that we didn't want to go over the $250,000. And so staff is requesting an amendment to TKE in the amount of $20,040. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Eric. Any questions, Director Duff, or comments?
No questions. Thank you for that information, Eric. I really appreciate it. My comments are just going to be general comments in regarding this. I've spoken with General Manager Macy and with other members of staff, and I'm very concerned about the number of contracts that we are giving one particular company. I understand that we've run into some issues with our on-call list. And I've asked that staff look to procure new operators for that list. But ultimately, given that on top of these 16 projects, they're also in charge of our Nancy Wright Regional Water Project and conveyance line, and we are looking to them to get our grant money from the state. I am not inclined to increase their workload. I understand this is being completely funded by the developer, but I just want to make my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President,
No comments.
Director Martin, Director Meyerhoffen.
I'm not sure what direction we're going with this contractor in the future, but on this particular project, he's already started on it. And it would just kind of throw the whole schedule a little bit off if we got somebody else. So on this particular time, I'm gonna go.
Thank you. And thank you, Eric. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on item 17?
No, sir, we do not.
Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion for, oh, sorry, Director Duff.
I just want to verify for the public, nothing has been started on this project, and we don't allow any work to be started on any of our projects until contracts are signed. Is that correct?
Yes, that is
Yes.
correct.
Thank you very much.
So I have a quick question. So Director Duff, Are you saying that this is being done correctly or incorrectly?
I don't have any problem with our processes, but you said they had already started work and we don't, as
Well-
practice in our district, allow any work to be done without a signed contract in place. So I was just correcting
Okay.
that for the public purpose,
All right.
but I already
My,
stated.
my comment on that is that they're already on board and they're already in the bid process and so, okay, yeah, I agree with you. Maybe they haven't started work yet, but we'll continue. Thank you.
Can I add something? Please?
Yes, go ahead, Eric.
Director Duff, we've also spoken with General Manager Macy, and he did mention that we will be suggested that we re-advertise for more on-call engineers and other consultants to spread the workload. So
Thank you, Eric.
we've already had that discussion, and we're working on that.
Great, thank you. Anything further from the board? Do we have a motion for item 17? I'll move the item.
And I'll second it.
All right, with a motion and a second, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes,
Director Duff,
No.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
and President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 18, award of contract to Canyon Springs Enterprises for the well 22 rehabilitation and capital budget augmentation. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to award a contract for the well 22 rehabilitation project to Canyon Springs Enterprises, the lowest responsible bidder, in the amount of $1,333,916, plus a 10% contingency totaling $1,467,307.60. Augment the capital improvement budget to the amount to $2,240,000 for job number 11611, and to do all things necessary to complete the project. Assistant Manager?
Yes, thank you. Staff did present on this item on Thursday. However, Engineering Manager Eric Weck does have a small update for you today.
Thank you, Assistant General Manager Champion. I did touch on this briefly in last week's study session, and I want to make sure that the staff recommendation is as clear as possible. So if you'll indulge me for a second, I'd like to read what the staff recommendation should be. So let's see, and it just specifies the amount that we're going to augment the capital improvement budget by. So it should say, authorize the general manager to award a contract for the well 22 rehabilitation project to Canyon Springs Enterprises, the lowest responsible bidder, in the amount of $1,333,916, plus a 10% contingency, total $1,467,307.60, and augment $680,000 to the capital improvement budget amount to $2,240,000 for job number 11611, and do all things necessary to complete the project. So basically, I just wanted to add the word and augment $680,000 to the capital improvement budget. That's the second line from the bottom of the first paragraph. Just to be clear.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen? Director Duff? Vice President? Nothing further. So thank you, Eric. And any members of the public wishing to speak on item 18?
No, sir.
Right. With that, do we have a motion for the item?
Oh,
Second.
With the motion and a second, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
yes,
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith,
aye.
President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 19, award of contract to MWH Constructors Inc. for construction management and inspection services for well 22 rehabilitation. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute a contract agreement with MWH Constructors for an amount not to exceed $189,573 for construction management and inspection services for the well 22 rehabilitation. Assistant Manager.
Thank you. Staff did present on this on Thursday and we have no additional updates.
Any questions or comments from the board? Director Dove?
Just one, actually. I just want to verify if we're going based on previous construction management firms, will they be also handling the collection and submission of invoicing for the reimbursement grant of the 338,000, or is that someone in staff here?
Eric, what was your plans? Can you answer that?
I think staff and MSWD staff might be able to take care of that.
Okay. Just wanted to know who is going to be responsible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vice President? Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen? Thank you very much, Eric. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on item 19?
No, sir.
Thank you. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for the item.
I'll make a motion to award contract to MWH Constructors, Inc. for construction management and inspection services for well 22.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 20, award contract amendment number 3 to West Yost for Horton Phase 1 nitrogen control strategy implementation. It is recommended that West Yost be awarded contract amendment number 3 to implement Phase 1 of the work plan described in the Horton wastewater treatment project plant nitrogen control strategy technical report approved by the Colorado River Regional Water Quality Control Board in September 2023. This will increase the contract amount to $84,700 from $181,306 to a new total of $266,006. Assistant Manager.
Yes, I believe General Manager Macy presented on this item last week and we have no additional updates.
Any questions or comments from the board? Director Martin?
No.
Director Meyerhoffen? Director Duff?
Sorry. Yes, please. Just a quick question, actually. We were going to double check to see if the West Yost 2022 billing rate schedule that was attachment A to their contract, whether it was going to be what they attached or whether they just didn't attach the 2024 pay schedule.
Director Duff, I believe that there is an updated fee sheet for that particular scope of services in that task order. I think the one that you were making reference to, 2022, was the original contract. So I think there's several different fee sheets in there, but I do believe there's a 2024 fee sheet in there as well.
Let me peek. Thank you.
And while you look, oh,
Director Duff, it starts on page 314.
I got it. Thank you. So they're in a sense getting about a $40 to $50 an hour increase on almost all, correct? Sounds about right, I guess.
Yes, they did increase their service or their fees between 22 and 24.
Okay, thank you.
Vice President, any questions or comments? Right. And I have nothing further. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on item 20?
No, sir.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion for the item.
I move to approve the contract amendment number 3 to West Yost for Horton Phase 1 nitrogen control strategy implementation.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
With a motion and a second, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 21, award of professional services agreement for the GeoViewer software subscription and support services for the Mission Springs Water District to Nobel Systems. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute a 3-year contract with GeoViewer software subscription and support services for the Mission Springs Water District in the amount of $63,129 to Nobel Systems, and authorize the general manager to do all things necessary to complete the project. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Our operations manager, Danny Friend, presented on this item on Thursday. We have no additional updates.
Any questions or comments from the board? Director Duff? Vice President? Director Martin?
Nothing.
Thank you. And any members of the public wishing to speak on item 21?
No, sir.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for the item?
I'll move.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
President Sewell.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 22, discuss Riverside Local Agency Formation Commission LAFCO election of 2 positions. It is recommended to consider the nominees for 2 Riverside Local Agency Formation Commission LAFCO positions up for election, and to have the board president cast a vote for the regular special district member from the eastern region of the county and an alternate special district member countywide. Did the board have any other comments or recommendations on this item? Okay, I gave my preliminary decision to Dory, so we can move forward with that, and we'll meet the 5 o'clock deadline. Thank you, Dory.
Thank you.
Discussion items. Item 23, Nancy Wright, Regional Water Reclamation Facility Update.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. We have Terry Renner from TKE Engineering is here today to provide you with a brief update on the plant. Go ahead, Terry.
Thank you, Assistant Manager. I will share my screen. Get rolling here. And everybody see that okay?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, President Sewell and Board of Directors. I'm going to give you our monthly update here for the Nancy Wright Regional Water Reclamation Facility. We are really rounding into shape here. The treatment plant is essentially working on all system startup and testing. So most of these slides will be talking about that. Here, what we can see is our startup and testing for the headworks and the grit removal. This is where, as the water comes in, it's going to screen out all of the majority of the grit and solid type materials that can fall down to the bottom of the chambers before it enters its treatment process. They're testing the odor control and the 3W lines here. So this is the piping system that's going to pull out most of the odor that comes from the water prior to it getting into the treatment plant. And in this photo, we've got pictures of the SBR tanks and the aeration and decanter startup. This is where, in the previous pictures, we had seen a lot of the piping running along the bottom of the tanks. This provides the aeration to help the microbes absorb or digest the wastewater material. The decanter at the back end of that picture, the floating little inner tube, that pulls off the clean water from the top, or the cleaner water from the top, and forwards it through the process. On the left side, we've got photos of the electrical systems and them operating the system there. This is our plant 3W pumps and the hydrodynamic system. So this basically can utilize the treated water and pushes it through the treatment plant itself so that they can use it for hosing down certain things. Everybody that is at the plant will be certified properly, so they know how to properly use this type of water, as it's not technically potable. But this is the system startups for that. The hydropneumatic tank on the right side is the storage tank for that 3W water and helps pressurize it to be reused through the plant itself. This is our chemical system startup and testing. So we've got in the chemical room, we've got the two different chemical processes. One of those is used for the 3W water that we just talked about. And the other one is the chemical additions for the flocculation to help the solid materials fall down to the bottom and then be processed out of the water. Here we've got pictures of our final grading in the spreading ponds. So we're finalizing that slope there on spreading pond number 1. And then on the right side, we've got our access road being constructed. This is just an aggregate base access road that's being compacted here. That'll get us around the site. These are the pictures of the spreading pond splitter box and the culvert construction on the left side. So we do have our on-site culvert piping that is being brought into a head wall there that's being formed up. On the right side, we do have our spreading pond splitter box. We had seen that come across a few different times. So this splitter box is able to divert water into each of the different ponds as they fill up. And then it also has a feature where the pond, it'll allow the ponds to float together in case one pond has too much water in. We have our site finish work and lighting and the network setup. So we've got some pictures of the air fiber system that is going in here. This will bounce or relay messaging back to the district's headquarters in order to be able to have redundancy in operating the treatment plant there if necessary. And they're also installing some lighting on the right side. We've got our operations building and belt filter startup here. So in the belt filter press room, we've got the startup and testing of that, where the water comes in. It's the dirty water comes in there, and they squeeze all of the excess water out of it, turns it into a cake, and then that can be sent away via trucking. In our operations building, we have our fire sprinkler and HVAC finish work. So they're finishing up their fire sprinkler installation, and then also the HVAC. On the left side, we've got our MCC unit. You can see the hoods on the top of the MCC units themselves, pulling up the heat and dissipating it from the room. That if you're ever looking for a cool place to go in the summer, that room is probably the coolest area to be. So in our visit there on Friday, most of the people were wanting to hang out there, as that room felt particularly nice, as it needs to keep the electrical equipment cool there. So furthermore, we got on the outside of the building, we've got our generator and MCC startup. So on the right side, that's just a closer up picture of what we had just seen in that previous slide. You can see that hood unit on the left pulling the heat from on top of the MCC units. On the right side, we just have all of our electrical control panels for all the different startup and testing areas within the treatment plant. And then on the left, we've got our generator, which they were running and testing for to ensure that the plant would operate if power goes out. Inside the building, we've got the finished work going in. We've got the restroom facilities. The lockers are in now. All the showers are in. On the floor, you can see the cardboard there. The floor tile is in. That's just a protection to make sure that that tile stays nice until the facility is turned over. Inside the building, we have the break room area, which was completed. And during our tour on Friday, We were utilizing that room as well as the hallways. Again, that cardboard's just there to protect the flooring. With the conveyance line, we do have all of the force main complete. And this unit here is the splitter unit where the force main is dumping in the water into the gravity sewer. So we've got the two gravity lines coming together. One of those would be a future line going north up Little Morongo. The one line is coming south down Little Morongo, taking the water to the plant. And then the teed off line going kind of at a diagonal is pulling water from the force main. For our funding and permitting update, again, we've got our FBA submitted and approved for phase 1. For reimbursement requests, we've got our Q2 invoice into the state and they are routing for final approval. Our Q3 invoice is also in, and our Q4 invoice has been submitted as well. For the WDR special provisions monitoring well number 3, the easement acquisition is complete and has been recorded. The construction is to resume in mid-May. For the 2024 Q1 update for Regional Water Quality Control Board, that has been submitted and is complete. For the sampling of private wells, we do have that agreement in process that is currently being reviewed by the private owner and their attorney, and they're just we're awaiting further comments from them. And then for the bi-monthly update to the Regional Water Quality Control Board for February and March, that has also been completed. Phase 2 conveyance line, our FBA again was submitted in May of 2023, and we are still awaiting the approval on the FBA for that. And I'll close it off here. So these are a couple of pictures of the CV Water Counts Tech Tour. Assistant General Manager Champion set this tour up and just wanted to give her some kudos for that. This basically allowed the general public to come out and learn more about water in general. And a couple of members of our team were there to help assist and answer questions. And now I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Terry. Any questions from the board? Director Martin, Director Meyerhoff, Director Duff, Vice President Griffith. Terry, I have one, and I believe you've already spoke on it, but just to confirm, our conveyance line, other than that small section on Little Morongo, is complete and ready to go?
That is correct.
I think that just further emphasizes the necessity that we need to get that easement and continue on. And I look forward to seeing this up and running. So thank you, Terry.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Item 24, Critical Services Center and Administrative Building Update. Assistant Manager.
Thank you. We have Alvin Flores from Renew Clark is on the Zoom, and he's here to provide you with an update.
Your Assistant General Manager Champion. Good afternoon, President Sewell, members of the board, and district staff. Wait up my screen. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Last we presented the site plan. We've continued to make progress on the overall design. So this afternoon, I'd like to update the board on two specific aspects regarding the landscape design and the electrical design as we continue to move forward with this. So in that original site plan, we showed a general overall landscape design. Since then, we've worked with our consultant to start solidifying the design further. This is identifying the specific types of plants that we'll be using, the quantities, and identifying locations where we're going to put that planting, especially the different types of planting for the demonstration garden and areas of interest that we want to either bring attention to or help soften those areas that are a little bit more public viewing and or that will be used extensively by the staff. So the plant list here is just an overall menu that our landscape architect was trying to develop. The highlighted ones specifically are the ones that we'll be focusing on that have been developed by the district for arid design, semi-arid design, and lush and efficient landscape landscaping. So a lot of that will be highlighted again in the demonstration garden, but also dispersed throughout the facility to help show examples and to follow the district standards in terms of landscaping and irrigation efficiencies. So again, we're looking at areas of focus, especially along the front of the building. There's a couple areas toward the back where we feel the district staff will be either hanging out or to be an extension of wellness. So that way they can go outside and have some experience with nature and also again enjoy various landscaping aspects. Second page we have here is again just that palette. Again, these are being pulled, a lot of these from the district approved palette. The ideas of not just green, but providing some additional colors throughout the site that would also, if I can find my exterior elevation, also fit within the overall desert theme that we're doing in terms of the colors of the building itself. So hopefully everything will tie together and be a very cohesive presentation of the district and the district's values as well. Last page I have for the landscaping is this is just a sampling of organizational themes that we could use for that various landscaping. So there's always going to be this balance of providing enough plants for it not to feel barren, but also have spacing and or a overall design to help elements feel a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more full again, without having a broad swatch of just large quantities of landscaping throughout. And from there, jumping over to electrical design. What we're highlighting here, well, first, there will be additional lighting on the building itself along the exterior, especially near entryways. There'll also be pathway lighting. We haven't showed that just yet. The primary focus of this study is to show where there'll be large amounts of lighting. And again, this is focused primarily on the parking lot areas or the driving areas of the site. And we're going to be having the minimum foot candles for being able to use that space, along with providing enough to provide security as well. So we have a range of about 2-foot candles to about 5-foot candles in these specific areas. And working with an electrical engineer, we're looking to find a fixture that, one, is aesthetically pleasing, but also helps limit the amount of light fall off either along the property lines and or into the sky. I know that was an aspect that was brought up in one of our previous meetings. So the fixture that they are looking at right now is, as a note, nighttime friendly and International Dark Sky Association approved. For my engineer, there is, based on the design of this fixture, zero light going up into the sky. Other aspects that we're working on with our electrical engineer. Well, before I move on, this parking lot will also receive solar panels. That's the inevitable plan. Currently, we're just showing how many light fixtures it would take if those panels didn't exist. With those panels, these lighting layouts would be incorporated into that structure. And if anything, even less light would end up emanating into the sky. We'll end up reworking this, but again, this is just a general study to identify the number of fixtures and that general spread. And we'll continue to develop this further as we move into the design. And with that, those are the two big highlights that I wanted to bring to the board today. So if there's any questions or comments, here to
Thank you,
answer
Alvin. Any questions or comments from the board? Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen?
Yes. Can you go back to your first slide, please, where it shows the entrance going into the park?
or the landscaping or the
Landscaping one. I guess that is close enough here. On the left-hand side, there's green, you see that little, yeah, there's the path right there.
Mhm.
So when our customers come in to use critical, it's an office building, just use our office building, that they're gonna have to either park all the way up by the street and then walk down to get into this entrance. I see you have somewhat of another entrance. Is there another entrance up here? Is that what I'm looking at, right where the street is?
Yeah, the way we're looking,
Mhm,
this will
right,
be
yes,
the
sir.
primary public entrance,
Okay, is this, they're gonna drive their car into there?
correct?
Okay,
And then this
where-
is parking
where's
for the public
sidewalk? Where's the sidewalk for them?
right here. So the sidewalk crosses this drive approach, comes down through the demonstration garden and goes on to this. And there's also another one from this side that they can take if they're traveling from this direction, or if they want to go further into the demonstration garden and come out.
All right, I'm just kind of concerned about this entrance coming through the park.
That is
Customers
just,
come and they're upset about their bill or whatever, they're not gonna be looking for children running around in the parking lot there.
understood.
When
And
family comes, they'll be aware of that and they'll be looking. So there is some concerns with that entrance. You know, the plants all look nice, which we can't maintain them here in our demonstration garden that we have now, but maybe we can here. I don't know. I understand it, but the other question I have for you is the environmental impact reports. What kind of where were we at with that? Going to be normally by this time, we already know if there's environmental issues, there's been a report done. The ERI, which is showing that there would have been needed a small study for the road. The impact report was showing if the road going around the Horton where the dirt is, the flooding situation out there and with the road. What are we doing here with this environmental part of this building? It seems to be, this is the third time where it seems to be ignored or, well, not, yeah, ignored. So where are we at? Usually the architect knows where we're at. The guy designing this. Where are we going?
it's still in development at this point. And again, the approach at this point, it is just an update. We're not doing a full EIR on this site since it's an existing facility. It'll be basically considered an infill project, but the environmental engineer is doing due diligence in terms of all the reports requested from the city. So
So what you're saying is there is somebody working with the city on the environmental issues that we may come across.
correct.
Taking a long time. We had this, the reason why I'm questioning it is, as you know, before I asked these same questions, I was told, yes, it was done and it wasn't. So I'm very, very concerned about this environmental part of this and the money that we're spending. I believe the architect here's gotten almost $2 million now for the plans. Is that correct?
That's our full contract amount, but we have not been paid up to that just yet. That would be at the end of the contract.
The end of the contract. And
Correct.
the
So
22,300,000 or something, if I remember correctly. So we're spending all this money and we don't know what the environmental situation is. That's just something that isn't done, to my knowledge, in the industry anywhere. Yeah, I won't go down there now. I'm concerned.
And again, this is an existing facility already on this site. So in terms of overall impact, the site has already been impacted. So the focus of the study currently is how it would affect outside, like the traffic studies, in terms of how we're going to connect into the existing right of way. So that is one of the major aspects, along with the other typical due diligence just in case. But just because, again, from what happened on the previous site, we're making sure that we do check off those items. But again, this is the overall approach is because this is an infill project. The site has already been disturbed. So
Well, I disagree there. We've run into problems before and you know, it's an infill site. It's an infill site because making sure we don't go over 5 acres. And that to me is manipulation of our system when it comes to environmental requirements. We shrunk it down and then we had to shrink down our rest of the landscaping. I was hoping I would be able to see a plot plan here done to scale so I could see how all this fits in. I don't understand why I can't get that after I asked for it 3 months ago. So I have a lot of concerns with this. We don't even know where the money's coming from yet. We don't know where the environmental is. You got your money and here we are. That's
Director Duff, questions or comments?
I just want to thank you for great work. And I also wanted to just point out that I really particularly love I don't know what plant they are, but the blue hued cactus that was in your last, that's in a water drop shape. You guys, next one. I love that. And I just wanted to tell you that's a really great idea. And I just think you've done a great job. Thank you.
Vice President Griffin?
I want to say thank you. At the previous slide you had up with the parking and all, I did not see my reserved space. And so maybe the next presentation, you could point that out. I would appreciate it.
Will do.
And I just had a couple points of clarification. Within the site, there is going to be 11 spaces, including 2 handicap for the public, correct?
Correct.
And then also, this is all done to scale, I believe, right?
There is a scale, yep, correct. Down here, all our plants are done to scale typically, so I'm not sure if there's a specific scale that you'd like to see, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then I know we talked about it. I don't know if we had come to a conclusion, but we talked about potential vandalism or theft of some of our plants as they go in. Are we going to have a closed campus? Will there be perimeter fencing on that north side?
That was the intent based on previous conversations about security. So we'll do our best to provide enough gate opening so it won't feel completely enclosed. It'll still feel welcoming, but we'll make sure we provide enough security that yeah, we can protect any district assets that might be on the site.
So the driveways and that pedestrian access to the park, those would have gates that could be closed during non-office hours. Great.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Alvin.
Thank you.
Director Duff.
I'm so sorry. When we previously talked with you, there was some discussion about you manipulating things by the operation building for the turnaround radiuses of vehicles. Was that addressed already? Because it looks different down here in this corner.
We're continuing to develop that and rework other solutions. So we're very close to that at this point. The nice thing is we do have a lot of we'll just say quote unquote room in this little spot to manipulate the building. So we're working toward that goal. There's other aspects that we're trying to incorporate as well, but we do feel confident that we can make something work.
Great. Thank you, Alvin, again. Thank you.
I have.
Thank you.
Director Meyer.
First of all, this plan may be to scale, but makes it very difficult taking out a architect's ruler and trying to figure it all out just with the measurement down here. I know there's plans where it already is marked off. Those blue agaves do look nice. The trouble is that when you start putting plants like that all together, you got all these spider lines going everywhere, and when they're go out, not maintained, then they all grow in together. So I've explained all this before, and so you guys are going to do whatever you like. I'm opposed to all that spider lines. And it's just extra water. Buy a plant that fits in there and begin with. I think you all grow together. You got to come back, take them all out, and do the irrigation again. I'm done.
Anything further? Thank you very much, Alvin. Moving on to the consent agenda. Contains item 25, approval of minutes, and item 26, register of demands. Did anyone have either of those items they'd like to pull today? No. If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve.
I'll second it.
With a motion and a second, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Aye.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Griffith,
Aye.
President Sewell.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion passes.
thank you. Item 27, directors' reports. I believe we all have to go today. Anyone volunteer to start us off? Director Martin?
Yes, it was a rather busy month, and I'm going to start off by the Riverside County Board of Supervisors meeting on March 5th. The highlight of that meeting, of course, was the Supervisor Manny Perez selected Desert Hot Springs Councilwoman Jan Pye as Woman of the Year. So congratulations on there. And when you think about the really important, influential women in this valley on there, you're a star among stars. So that was well deserved, well deserved. Congratulations. On the 5th city council meeting, they amended a chapter of the zoning ordinance. I won't get into that. They discussed the federal appropriations request discussion regarding road closures. On the 7th Desert Valley Builders Association legislative meeting, there were updates by the various communities on the legislation and legislation, housing, and commercial development. On the 11th Desert Valley Board Association board meeting, budget review, committee, and program update. On the 12th Riverside County Board of Supervisors meeting, there were multiple comments and complaints concerning the ballots on the primary election. And interestingly enough, several of those comments were coming from poll workers. So I hope they iron that out. The most important thing for me, anyway, with my background, was there was a discussion and evaluation of separating the office of the coroner from the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. I think that that's an appropriate separation to avoid a conflict of interest. The 19th Riverside County Board of Supervisors, nothing to report. However, on the 19th, I attended a memorial service for California Assembly, former California Assembly from 2008 to 2014, Brian Estandi, who passed away. And that came as a shock because he was a very healthy looking individual and died not long after his 60th birthday. And I look and said, my God, I'm 17 years older than he is. And I just was a shock, and he will be missed. On the 21st, Desert Valley Builders Association Network Night, that was a pretty poorly attended event. There was only, unusually, only 10 to 15 people showed up, which was a surprise. On the 28th, Desert Valley Builders Association meet and greet breakfast at La Quinta. That was well attended. On the 9th, attended opening day for Little League. I always enjoy that. I go every year. Carol, Moran, and I go, and it's really, really awesome. On the 10th, the Women's Club Fashion Show. Nothing to report there. On the 14th, Desert Valley Builders Association General Membership Luncheon. Nothing to report there. On the 21st, Palm Springs Unified School District Principal for the Day. I got the honor of being principal for the day at Painted Hills Middle School. And that was one of the highlights of the month for me. First of all, the campus itself, Painted Hills. I've been to a lot of campuses, a lot of colleges, a lot of high schools in my lifetime. That's one of the nicest educational facilities I've ever seen and ever been to. It's really well designed. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But I was more impressed with the students. These are middle schoolers, and I went in and spoke with the, I guess would be the honor roll student class. And I gave my presentation. I was very impressed with the questions they asked. And then I got a tour of the entire school, including walking in on several classes that were in progress. one of the classes I went to, they were watching a documentary on the cycle of water, from evaporation to rainfall to natural storage to artificial storage, and it was well narrated by an individual. I don't know his name and everything, and they had a music soundtrack, the whole thing, very, very impressive. And I asked the principal, I said, I'd like to get a copy of that. Who made that film? And he says, you see that 11-year-old in the first row? An 11-year-old made that film to show in the classroom. I was shocked. I was shocked. I mean, it was really, really good. And anyway, the last event I attended, there was the Senior Inspiration Awards from Desert Hot Springs. There was Linda Croson, who was a school teacher for 42 years, and Friends of the Library volunteer, and Citizens on Patrol volunteer. So with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Director Meyerhoff?
Yes, I attended the Desert Hot Springs Planning Commission meeting. Not much to report there. It was kind of a short meeting. Next report will be better. And the Building Industry Association meeting. It was a good meeting. They had different developers come in, and I actually spoke with an architect about groundwater and how he worked on a project that had a small pond on it. And after they got it built even bigger, it was to actually help the groundwater. And so we had a nice conversation about that. Then the incandescent holy night and networking there. It was a nice time. I'm kind of concerned though, maybe we could put this on on one of our workshops, as should we really be competing against the people that we're trying to support in events? And should we really be buying a lot of raffle tickets at the same time? There's maybe the legal issue there with the raffle. And I'll discuss that with you later. I meant to earlier. That's about it for me.
Thank you. Director Duff?
All right, I also had a busy month and I'll try and keep this brief, but there was a lot of information gleaned. I attended 2 CBWD board meetings last month, the 12th and the 26th. On the 12th, they approved a non-potable on-site pipeline project to serve an RV resort. They also updated on the GeoTab program. I guess they have monitors in the vehicles that, that even tell them who's driving the vehicle and which vehicle and for how long and et cetera. It's very interesting. And then the 26th, there was a large discussion about the, again, non-potable water, but this one was for a specific region, the WRP7 region. The staff was asked to bring back more information. It was a very hefty construction bid, and they wanted some more additional information, as this was going to be serving 3 different golf courses that are currently on canal water in the summer, which was a surprise to me, given our previous droughts that golf courses get canal water, but I'm learning. And then also discussing some issues with their nitrogen levels in the non-potable, and they've actually presented a question to the state as to whether the non-potable recycled water that's going strictly for irrigation, can it have higher nitrogen in it than the drinking water limits? So I thought that was interesting. DWA, I attended as a substitute for Vice President Griffith and attended by Zoom. They also added a meeting to their list of approved, the Riverside County Water Task Force. I don't know much about this. It appears to have been a online or a virtual meeting, but I would like to learn more about the task force if possible. Thank you. And then also some discussion about the recharge ponds and the Mission Creek Subbasin. Discussed a lot of their construction updates on Ramon and Tequites, and I found it interesting their staff giving the report talked about Avenida Caballeros in Palm Springs, and that area leaks at least 1 time a week, and that in order for them to update their stuff, they're looking at a 15-year out project to get all of their pumps and pipes replaced. They've got such an aging system, so it was very educational. You guys have your hands full. And then on the 6th, I attended the Aqua Groundwater Committee meeting. DWR did a presentation reviewing the release timelines for the new California Conservation Way of Life. On the 14th, I attended an Aqua Sigma implementation meeting. They had a lot of discussion about the GSAs and what kind of enforcement rights they're given as GSAs. There was quite a lengthy discussion on that. They also gave some of the statistics as far as where we're at statewide. They've approved 71 basins so far, and there appears to be 11 basins that are having some potential getting taken over by the state issues. Attended CVCC on the 26th of March. They bought an additional 5-acre lot actually up in our area for conservation. Also talked about their fence repairs from the Hillary storms that their contractor had to do for the peninsular bighorn sheep, that they have a fence. The thing I found most interesting was the fence they had constructed has a bottom, I'd say 3 feet or so, that angles up or backwards depending on the flow of water. So it can allow things to flow through or small animals to push their way through, but it catches all the debris. It was very fascinating and very easy for them to clean up after Hillary. So something to keep in mind if we have to fence anything in the future. Let's see, San Gorgonio Pass meeting. I attended that on the 27th. And they have been experiencing specifically in San Gorgonio Pass some issues with the Delta pumping. And there was a news article recently where some of the State Water Project pumps in the north have been experiencing some fish problems, and looks like they had a problem and we lost a lot of our salmon due to the issues they were having there at the pump. And it also has caused some water movement issues for some State Water Project recipients. Let's see, anything else? Oh, they also had a presentation pretty lengthy on the California Conservation Way of Life, and the state agency LAO, which is leaving my mind right now as far as what the initials mean, but the state put out a report in January basically completely against this this entire California Conservation Way of Life, because the cost is so high. And ultimately, what we're talking about as a state is 1% water savings. So I just wanted to say that publicly, because people may be asking why our president and vice president are fighting so hard at the state level for this California Conservation Way of Life. But when we're told 40% in the next 3 to 5 years reduction, and it doesn't necessarily match our communities surrounding us, and we have state agencies that are disagreeing with this process, it's definitely something we all have to keep in mind. And I think, oh, one last thing, just wanted to mention this for staff. They talked about in that California Conservation Way of Life that there's a new variance available for any communities that fall below the California state median household income. So I just want to make sure we are not missing that. And that does it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vice President Griffith.
Legislative Analyst's Office. And as far as the variance, talk about that at next month's meeting, since we just went to a legislative forum that explained all about that. So I have some info for you. So stay tuned. So as far as March, I did the DWA board meeting on March 5th, and bear with me because I cannot ever read my own writing. So Vice President Bowman, if I screw something up, you can let me know, okay? I know that you did talk about retiree benefits and agreement with DWR for construction of monitoring wells. I remember that. And as of that meeting, DWR said that DWR will get 15% of their contractual water. I know that that went up at the next meeting I went, which was April. So then some other stuff that I really cannot read this at all, and I need to figure out a way to learn how to write better. But trust me, it's screws my life up as much as it screws a meeting up. The 19 did go to Sacramento. No, I didn't. That was this month. God, I'm all screwed up. 19th of March, went to DC with President Sewell and Assistant General Manager Champion and General Manager Macy. We met with our federal advocacy person, Laura, Kessler Morgan. And we had a meeting at Senator Padilla's office, U.S. Senator Padilla's office, since they're still there, Senator Butler's office, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers and Congressman Raul Ruiz's office to discuss requests for next year's budget, the 2025 budget, if God knows when that'll start. To continue the funding for the septic to sewer program that we are currently working on. And then the other thing I did was I did also do the Senior Inspiration Awards. Congratulations to Linda Krausen, who has done so much for the community. And honestly, her hard work is one of the reasons we do have that library. She really pushed hard. And so it was great to see her be honored, and so many other people. And if you've never been to it, I really suggest you go, because the one older woman said she felt like a teenager, and I thought, oh, I don't know what she's drinking, but I want some because I feel old. So you are old. Listen, Director Biden, don't even start. And that is all I have.
Thank you. And I just have the one which was March 19th through 22nd, the MSWD federal legislative trip to Washington, D.C. Vice President Griffith already mentioned the meetings that we took, but it was both of our second years going. I think last year was very successful. And the thing that really stood out to me was how many people we talked to were familiar with us from last year. The meeting with Padilla's office went really well. They were a big advocate for us receiving our funding from last year. So we're hopeful that they'll be putting in another request for us this year. And the Army Corps seems like they're ready to go. As long as we have funding, it seems like our project has moved pretty high up in their line of projects. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to continue doing our septic to sewer project. And I think Laura with Carpy and Clay is doing a wonderful job on our behalf in Washington, D.C. And I think it's definitely a worthwhile trip. So, thank you. And we'll move. General Manager's report, item 28.
Thank you very much. For the financial report, Arturo Ceja is going to be available on Zoom. Arturo, are you there?
Thank you, Assistant Manager Champion, President Sewell, and members of the board. If you've noticed the financials, the report is exactly the same as last month. And the reason for that is accounting is getting cut out from the audit. We're starting the budget review for next year, and we're also preparing for next year's budget already. The auditors are scheduled to be out here in the next couple of weeks to start looking at everything through the month of April. And so we're getting ready for that. But if you have any specific questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, that is a report for this month.
Any questions or comments from the board? Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen? Director Dell? Vice President Griffith? And I have none. Thank you, Arturo.
Thank you. I will go ahead and go and give my public affairs update. Can you pull up the PowerPoint, please? This is a short PowerPoint that highlights some of the work of the Public Affairs Office in the past month. Additional information is available in your GM update in your packet. The past month has been very busy with events and activities, including sponsored events, including the Desert Horticulture Tour, the Senior Inspiration Awards, and the Women's Club Barbecue Fundraiser. MSWD also participated in the Aqua Ledge Symposium in Sacramento, which focused on Sigma and conservation as a way of life. And we also had a productive series of meetings at with our DC lobbyist and the offices of Senators Padilla and Butler and Congressman Ruiz and the DC office of the Army Corps of Engineers to discuss our fiscal year 2025 ask and the district's groundwater quality protection project. The public affairs team was also visible in our schools, participating in a special career day at Julius Corsini Elementary. And we also sponsored a tour at Mission Creek Preserve for about 65 Cabot Yurtza Elementary students. We also held our third water talk, which featured Jerry Brown, the executive director of the site's reservoir project, to discuss the needs for water and additional storage in the state of California. These water talks continue to trend very favorable on our social media, even after the event is complete. Next slide, please. Not one to slow down. We have several notable events planned during the coming month, including a BIA and a separate Riverside County events that will both address housing and economic forecasting. We also have a spring aqua conference that will draw thousands of water professionals from all over the state as they explore issues facing the water industry. Additional items are being added to your calendar every week, so please take a look at the events calendar, and if you have any questions, please contact Dory or myself directly. As I mentioned last month, we are sponsoring a special event on April 20th at Cabot's Museum. During the event, we will unveil a 3D modeling project that the Desert Hot Springs Real Academy students have been working on. Earlier in the school year, I met with the students and I gave them an overview of our water sources for the Mission Creek Subbasin. The students are working to create a 3D printed model using 3D printers that will include the mountains and Mission Creek Preserve, the MSWD reclamation facilities, the Colorado River Aqueduct and our recharge pond, and also Miracle Hill and Cabot's Pueblo Museum. During the unveiling ceremony, we have several guest speakers, including who you heard from earlier, Jeff Bowman, representing Cabot's Pueblo Museum Board, Scott Mattis, our city mayor, our own president, Ivan Sewell, MSWD's board president, John Girardi, one of the Palm Springs Unified School District trustees, and we'll also hear from Desert Hot Springs High School Real Academy advisor, Casey Heiser, and 3 of his students who work directly on the project. As part of the festivities, entry into the museum will be free for the day. MSWD and Cabot's are promoting the event on local social media, flyers, and on Peach Jar, which is a digital publication to families within the Palm Springs Unified School District. I also have a media advisory ready to go out tomorrow to help draw some additional media attention. Another event I wanted to draw your attention to is our MSWD ribbon cutting for the new Nancy Wright Regional Water Reclamation Facility. Last week, the public affairs team started reaching out to local officials to create a speakers list. As clean water testing just started last Thursday, we are also working on a video, an event invite, and additional materials for the ribbon cutting. More details will follow, and a full list of speakers will be shared as we get closer to the event. As I mentioned in my update last month, starting later this week, we are enhancing our rebate offerings to include additional toilet rebates for the replacement models that use 1.1 gallons per flush or that have a dual flush option. We've also added a clothes washer replacement for Energy Star models that have an integrated water factor of 6 or less. And lastly, we'll be offering a smart irrigation controller rebate for weather-based models. Those are the ones that have the capability to adjust themselves based on rainfall. We have finalized the applications and the cost accounting needs for tracking, and we'll be able to roll out these later this week. We will be marketing these programs through social media, bill inserts, targeted emails, billboards, and conventional media. In addition to this outreach, our April newsletter, which is scheduled to reach homes in the coming week, will feature our new rebate offerings, encouraging customers to save both water and money by making an upgrade. And last but certainly not least, I have 2 videos to preview with you this month. The first is a quick reminder to our customers to update their contact information. And the second is an update to our water resources video. Both videos will be featured on our social media sites during the month of May.
At first glance, the desert appears to be parched. But the key to sustaining life in Desert Hot Springs and the surrounding community sits just below the surface. All of the drinking water in the Coachella Valley comes from groundwater. Our groundwater basin has been divided into 4 subbasins: the Indio or Whitewater River Subbasin, Mission Creek Subbasin, San Gorgonio Pass Subbasin, and the Desert Hot Springs Subbasin. Together, they provide drinking water to nearly 500,000 residents. MSWD works with other Coachella Valley water providers to create shared groundwater management plans, which provide a look at how to best manage water supplies to meet demands and ensure the high quality of our award-winning groundwater. A top priority for MSWD is to provide, protect, and preserve the local groundwater supply, not only for our current customers, but for generations to come. To learn more about our water sources, visit mswd.org.
Thank you. And I did want to note, there were some watermarks in some of the videos. Those will be removed before we finalize it, but this is just the working draft. So thank you. That concludes my update.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on the public affairs report, Director Duff?
Great job as always. I love how you are able to reach so many people on a very simple platform. I love that. And no further questions for public outreach.
Thank you. Vice President?
Good job as always.
Director Martin?
So I just want to compliment Marion on her efforts in putting this thing together, and good job.
Director Meyer?
Mhm.
And I'll just ditto that, great job, and I'm interested to see, is that something that you'll continue in the interim, doing the public affairs report as AGM now?
I will continue. I'm still going to oversee the public affairs activities. We will just have another person within the department who will be helping out with that. So it'll still be my area of expertise.
Great. And then, did we have any questions or comments on the overall general manager's report? Director Duff?
I have a comment, actually. There was under wastewater collections, there was a brief discussion on cultivation facility inspections. And I just want to remind the public that our industrial wastewater program and our pretreatment program that we're in the process of continuing to revise was done for the benefit of our city and the benefit of the industrial businesses in our city. But it does take their participation and cooperation in order to make that work. So I'm just trying to help staff out. I'm again pleading with these industrial businesses in our city to please contact MSWD. Please do what's necessary to let them help you with your pretreatment needs. And let's keep this water in our basin, and let's keep your costs down. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President? Director Martin? Director Milo?
Commissioner comments right now? You know?
No, just the general manager's report, overall questions. Thank you. I have none. We'll move on to item 29, district council comments.
I gave my report on Thursday, so I don't have anything further today.
Okay, thank you. Item 30, director's comments and also requests for future items on future agendas. Director Martin?
Just a question. We don't yet, besides myself, who's attending that legal summit for the Coachella Valley economic forecast in Tennessee Springs. I'm going. Is anybody else?
It's Thursday.
Yeah, I think it's next Thursday. Yeah. Okay. Good.
I can check and see if there's anyone else attending, but
That was it, Assistant Manager Champion.
thank you.
Thank you. Director Meyer?
Yes. I've asked in the last 3-4 months that on our agenda report that we have to report on, we report on because it's a matter of record. But not all my meetings are being put down here that have been paid for. We spoke about this before, and this time around there was 2 more meetings that weren't put on. I don't understand it. We give a paper every month as to the meetings we attend, but yet they don't show up here.
Can I ask is that in the agenda packet you're saying they're not showing up?
Yeah. In the report.
I'll look into it.
I know I spoke to it. Yeah, so it continues to happen. The next thing, I would like to have an update on the environmental issues with, you want to call it critical service center. I'm very serious about these environmental issues with this. You got a $20-30 million building you're gonna put in the center of not the center, but in a 50-year-old sewer treatment plant. Second thing is, I wanted to address the issues with the safety problems around the outside of the building, and the answer is that from the management, we're not going to put any money into this building because in 18 months we're going to start a new building. It'll take about 3 years to get that new building started, so that means you're telling me 5 years. You're not telling me. I'm being told here by the district it's going to be 5 years before you do any maintenance on this building. That ain't right. The inside the building, you know, in a small conference room downstairs, there's these 3 pieces of drywall that are missing. Been missing for years. What we have here is a piece of plastic. Look through the plastic, we can see the 2x4s, the framework, the inside of the outside wall, and no drywall or no installation. The same thing's going on up in our manager's office. And why is that a concern? Because the sun beats down on the south, right on those walls, you have no installation. How much is that costing us in heating and cooling? Be cheaper just to put some insulation in there and fix it. What the answer I'm getting here is, it's gonna cost $75,000 to redo all the drywall inside the building. I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking to take care of that problem. So maybe this is something, since management hasn't cooperated since I've been here, and this has been going on prior to me being appointed here or being sworn in here, that we need to put this on the agenda. We just can't have this. We can't have this. You know, I don't know how to, consensus is, I don't know what the consensus is. But we have a responsibility to maintain the maintenance on this building, to keep the value of the building up until we go to sell it. So I don't know if we're gonna put this on the agenda or what, but we need to look at it.
I definitely think it's something we could visit at a workshop. I believe we have the workshop this month kind of fleshed out, but maybe next month's workshop. And-
How long do you want to wait for this? Another couple months? I don't understand why we can't, I don't understand why it hasn't been done over the last 5-6 years.
I'll just say that
Okay.
next workshop is next week. And to get the sufficient amount of information, that 75 number, I think, is 3 years old. So for us really to discuss it, I
Probably
think
95 now. But I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for maybe 5 pieces of drywall to be replaced and installation to make it look presentable. That's all I'm asking for. And the safety issues around the outside of the building. And I give up. You guys
So
as well.
You're gonna put it on the agenda for the workshop next month.
unless you think we have time to get it on this month's work.
Let us look at and see what we have, and maybe we can build an inflation factor, but we'll look and see what information we have. We have brought the drywall issue to the board before, so we just need to clean up that presentation, make sure it's current numbers, and then we can have a good dialogue back and forth about it.
And Vice President Griffin had a comment.
This was brought before the board prior. I was here. Maybe it was before you. I can't remember the date. And the board voted to not move forward with those repairs, knowing that we were going to at some point move. And then depending on whether this gets rented or sold, we may not need to put those repairs in, or they may want other modifications. So at that time, the board voted not to pursue the repairs, which is why management has not pursued it. It was at our direction.
And it's now gonna be on a future agenda. It's not on today's agenda. You know, we can easily get into debating it today, but I would wait till it's agendized.
I don't want to debate it or anything. I just want it fixed.
Anything further, Director? Mayor Hoffman, sorry.
No, that's.
All right, thank you. Director Dove, comments? Vice President Griffith?
I just want to expand on something because I didn't when I was doing my reporting. So just so that everybody knows, when we were in Washington DC and we did meet with Senator Padilla's staff, Senator Padilla has pushed forward a bill for LIWAP, the Low Income Water Assistance Program, which was funding has run out for or is ending, and the bill would continue this. As most people know, we cannot offer discounts based on income because of Prop 218. So this is the way of providing assistance to lower income people. And so if you are so inclined to write a letter of support to Senator Padilla's office or Senator Butler's office or Representative Raul Ruiz's office in support of this, it would be wonderful because it does help the community. And we did thank his staff there, but I would like to put it out publicly. We thank him again for this because it's very important for our community. And the other thing it is in here is that some people question why we go to DC. One of the things that has been discussed is that the impact of a federal advocate in the office is one thing, but what really holds the most impact is when elected officials go in and talk to our legislators, because they're the ones more in touch with the people. And so what we say actually lends a little more weight to whatever the issue is. And in doing so, it does give us success. We have repeatedly received money from the government. And last year, our amount was 2.7 million, which is going to allow us to move forward with one of the projects. So I think it's important that everybody does know that the reason we go is because it does pay off in investments in the community. And so I want to thank Senator Padilla again, as well as Senator Butler, for having us, and Representative Ruiz's staff. And hopefully next year we can increase what we get and continue our progress.
Thank you. I just have one comment, and that's I have a big thank you and congratulations to our own Carol Marin. This will be her last board meeting. Next month, we're going to celebrate her. But I just wanted to say, Carol, thank you for all your years of service. I believe 22 years. For many people in our community, Carol is really kind of the face of Mission Springs Water District. She goes out to the events and helps people with water donations, and across the board, Carol has been there. So just a big thank you to her, and I look forward to your party. And with that, meeting is adjourned.